The Delgado family mansion in Charleston, South Carolina, was used to the hum of weekend gatherings. Wealthy guests, polished floors, expensive perfumes drifting through the air. But that Saturday felt different. The staff moved faster. The guests dressed finer, and an air of celebration buzzed everywhere. Because tonight was the engagement party of Brandon Miller, a rising entrepreneur known as much for his wealth as his arrogance. But while Brandon admired himself in every mirror, the rest of the mansion ran on the quiet shoulders of the one person everyone overlooked. Elena, the 24-year-old maid who worked long hours to send money home to her ill mother in Texas. Elena was invisible to most wealthy guests, except one. Mrs. Delgado, the mansion owner, adored her. "You remind me of myself when I was young," she often said. Quiet, hard-working, and far more talented than people realize. Elena always smiled shyly and kept working. But tonight, fate had something else planned. A cruel joke. As guests gathered in the ballroom, Brandon swaggered in wearing a designer suit and his usual smirk. He had been drinking, but no one dared to comment. His fiancée, Sabrina, a socialite known for her pride, arrived later wearing a sparkling gold gown. She looked perfect until you saw her eyes. Sharp, cold, demanding. When Sabrina's friend asked where the champagne was, Elena stepped forward with a tray. But the moment she did, Brandon's gaze landed on her. "Hey, isn't she the maid who's always humming?" He laughed loudly. "What is it? Do maids sing when they clean?" A few guests chuckled. Elena lowered her eyes, embarrassed. Sabrina added cruelly, "She's probably dreaming of living like us." Poor thing. Mrs. Delgado shot them a warning look, but Brandon kept going. "What else can you do?" he smirked, stepping closer to Elena. "Can you dance, maid?" Elena froze. She could dance, beautifully in fact. Her mother had taught ballroom dancing before falling sick. But Elena never spoke of it. Brandon raised his voice so everyone could hear. "Dance the tango, and I'll marry you instead." Laughter exploded around the room. Sabrina grinned wickedly. Elena's cheeks burned with humiliation. Mrs. Delgado stepped forward. "That's enough, Brandon." But Elena, she took a breath, and she lifted her chin. "I will dance." The room fell silent. Elena placed the champagne tray on a table, walked to the center of the ballroom, and said quietly, "Play the music." Gasps echoed across the room. Brandon stumbled backward. "Wait, you're actually serious?" Elena didn't respond. She just extended her hand. Mrs. Delgado, smiling with a fire in her eyes, nodded to the band. "Play the tango, now." Soft strings filled the hall. Brandon scowled. This is ridiculous. But Mrs. Delgado gave him a stare that could freeze oceans. He had no choice. He stepped forward reluctantly. The moment his hand touched Elena's, everyone saw it. Elena wasn't nervous. Brandon was. She placed one hand on his shoulder, the other in his palm, and whispered, "Try to keep up." The dance that changed everything. The music swelled. Elena moved first, smooth, sharp, perfectly in rhythm. Her steps were confident, elegant, powerful. She guided the dance, not Brandon. Guests fell silent. Phones lowered. Eyes widened. Even Sabrina stopped breathing. Elena spun gracefully, stepped forward, and then dipped in a breathtaking move that left the entire room stunned. Mrs. Delgado whispered proudly, "Look at her. She's magnificent." Brandon, sweating and off balance, tried to keep up, but looked clumsy next to her. Elena, however, danced with a strength and beauty that no one expected from a maid. As the music reached its final note, Elena pulled Brandon into a perfect finishing stance, bold, dramatic, flawless. The room erupted, not in laughter, but in applause. Loud, emotional, overwhelming applause. Some guests even had tears in their eyes, because the maid they mocked had just stolen the entire night. The truth Sabrina couldn't hide. Sabrina stormed forward, furious. "This is insane! She's just a maid." Mrs. Delgado finally spoke. "Enough. You insult someone who has more grace than any of us? You should be ashamed." But it wasn't Mrs. Delgado's words that broke Sabrina. It was Brandon's mother who stepped forward slowly. "Brandon," she said, voice trembling, "do you know who she is?" Brandon blinked. "What? She's a maid." "No," his mother whispered. "She's Elena Rivera, the daughter of Isabella Rivera." Gasps. Elena froze. The bandleader whispered, "Isabella Rivera, the famous tango dancer?" Brandon's mother nodded. "She danced across the world. She trained champions. She was a legend." Elena felt tears sting her eyes. "That was my mother," she whispered, "before she became sick." The room went dead silent. Mrs. Delgado placed a hand on Elena's shoulder, "And she passed her gift to you." A single tear rolled down Elena's cheek. Brandon suddenly looked small, ashamed, embarrassed. The moment that made everyone cry. Sabrina scoffed. "So what, she's still just—" Mrs. Delgado cut her off sharply. "What she is more woman than you will ever be." A ripple of shock spread through the room. Brandon, swallowing hard, turned to Elena. "Why didn't you ever tell us you could dance?" Elena looked at him with gentle but firm eyes. "Because my mother taught me something important. You don't need to announce your worth. People will see it when the time comes." Her voice cracked with emotion. And tonight, the time came. Some guests quietly wiped their tears. Brandon lowered his head. "Elena, I'm sorry." "Truly." Elena nodded, but said nothing. She didn't need to. The ending no one expected. Mrs. Delgado stepped forward. "Elena, you are not meant to clean floors. You are meant for something bigger." "What do you mean?" Elena whispered. The older woman smiled warmly. "I own a performing arts foundation, and I want you to be our new dance instructor, with a full scholarship to complete your training." Elena gasped. Her hands covered her mouth. "No, no, I don't deserve that." "Yes," Mrs. Delgado said softly. "You do." Guests clapped. Some cried openly. Even Brandon's mother hugged Elena. "You made this night unforgettable." At that moment, Sabrina's voice echoed sharply. "I'm leaving. This is ridiculous." Brandon didn't stop her. He just watched her walk away and whispered, "Goodbye." Then he turned to Elena. "I made a fool of myself tonight. But you showed everyone what real elegance is." Elena smiled gently. "Maybe we all learned something tonight." Mrs. Delgado raised a glass. "To Elena Rivera, the woman who reminded us, class comes from the heart, not the wallet." Applause thundered again. Elena stood in the center of it all, tears in her eyes. For the first time in years, she felt her mother's presence. Her dance hadn't just changed the night, it changed her entire life.